This is an event that happened to Brandon Novak in 1999, and this chapter is entitled "The AIDS Needle I Shot Up With." After the 48-hour detox, I'm in my hospital bed face to face with the clipboard-carrying doctor. He has a pleasant face, shakes my hand, and speaks in a friendly manner. "Mr. Novak, how you feeling?" I sit up in the bed to show respect, pushing my breakfast tray aside. "A lot better, thank you." Good. From what I understand, you've been living on the streets. You've had an opioid and cocaine dependency problem, is that correct? "Yes, sir." He nods his head in empathy and looks into my eyes. "Well, we've gotten the results of your blood test back." And with that, I collapse and fall back on the bed, weak and shuddering, and for good reason. I know that this man is about to give me some news I do not want to hear. Over the years, I've engaged in reckless behavior and risky health practices. I've eaten out of trash cans. I've used toilet water from fast food bathroom toilets to shoot up. I've shared cookers with running partners. I've had sex with prostitutes. But none was so foolish and dangerous as the time I shot up with a needle that I'm convinced was infected with AIDS. And the stress on my brain recreates the suppressed memory so vividly that momentarily I relive it.
My name is Brandon Novak, and I have been sober coming up on 3 years, God willing, May 25th, 2018. In the beginning, I had really nothing I was trying to do except get money to get high, because I clearly wasn't clean while I was writing those books. So the night of my book release, I'm in Times Square in New York City. I have my literary agent there, I have my manager there, I have the publishers there, all these well-to-do people in that scholarly world. And I don't have any heroin that day. I don't have any heroin, man. And I have a buddy with me who's also from Baltimore. And he doesn't have any heroin that day. And what I didn't know then that I know now is my people would not give me any money that day because it would not be a good look, me sitting at this Barnes & Nobles in Times Square signing this book on addiction that I had written while falling asleep due to being high on heroin. My disease doesn't understand that, people. My disease doesn't care about that. You think my disease says, "Okay, Brandon, I see you gotta work. I'll get back to you in 2 hours." That thing says now, I say, "Yes, sir." All of a sudden, they wheel boxes of my books in on this dolly. And me and my buddy take one look at each other, and we don't say a word, but we have a full-blown conversation with each other. And in uniform precision, I get up, he gets up, I steal 2 boxes of my books, he steals 2 boxes of my books, and we go right to the Amtrak train station, and I go right to Baltimore, and I sign them, and I sell them to 2 different stores. I am now stealing my own autobiography addiction memoir books, which are saving hundreds of thousands of people's lives, to sell to buy more heroin. But as fate would have it, not only did I defy odds or logic, I was able to get sober and stay sober. And now with the release of these new books that Franz and I have coming out, what I really want to get across to people is that addiction is not a death sentence, and your history does not have to dictate your future. And as long as you're breathing, it's never too late. And I wasn't a first shot winner. I was like a 13th shot winner, so it doesn't have to be that way. And that's what I like to get out, is that recovery is doable. It's possible. And I was that guy that was deemed unhelpable or unfixable. Well, this book, it kind of just continues to go in chronological order. So this next book picks up where the last one left off. Okay. So it's just really a timeline of my life. Because it was kind of like a roller coaster of ups and downs, peaks and valleys. And right when you think that I got it and everything's going to go great and I'm going to ride off into the sunset, happily ever after, it's like I completely demolish anything. So my intentions were to get back to Baltimore to take care of this woman. My actions dictated I get back to her house, I run up into this bedroom that I leave once a day for 3 months, and I go buy $180 worth of heroin and cocaine every day. And every morning, like clockwork, I would wake up at 4 a.m. and I would carefully sneak down the stairs, and I knew exactly what step to step on, because God forbid I stepped on the wrong step and it made a noise, and she woke up and said, "Brandon, can you make me something to eat?" I fucking can. It's not personal, it's business, Mom. Don't get between me and this next one because I don't want to do what I don't have to do, and you're getting in between me and getting high. And I would come down every morning, and I would army crawl across the living room, and I would grab her purse, which she has now attached a bell to it. And I would grab the purse and I would grab the bell, because God forbid the bell rang and she woke up and said, "What are you doing in my purse?" Don't fucking ask me what I'm doing in your purse. How did I get here? How did I get here? I had goals, I had dreams, I had ambitions. First skateboarder to be endorsed by Gatorade, traveled the world with Tony Hawk, been in movies that break box office records, a millionaire a few times over at a very young age, published author who's written a book on addiction. Now I am army crawling across my mother's floor to grab her purse, which she has attached a bell to, praying to God that she doesn't wake up and say, "What are you doing in my purse?" In theory and on paper, a very successful individual had did things in life that people equate to success or happiness that some even dream of doing. In reality, my worldly possessions consist of 8 scarves, 2 jackets, 3 socks, and 1 stick of deodorant. That all fits into a bag that doubles as my pillow.
And I just try to get the point across that the disease of addiction does not discriminate. You know, like I said, it doesn't care if you come from Yale or jail or the White House or the outhouse. The results are all the same, and the facts are that 1 out of 7 people will be affected. Factual evidence states 1 out of 7 people will be affected. So it's no longer like that guy under the bridge with the brown paper bag and the needle hanging out of his arm asking for change. You know, it's like doctors, lawyers, physicians. So far, what we've been able to do, you know, partnering up with Banyan Treatment Center and Barnes & Noble, it's been perceived really, it's been perceived in a really welcoming fashion, you know, because it's not getting any better, the disease of addiction. It's only getting worse. It's no longer an epidemic, it's a pandemic. 144 people today in the nation will die due to a direct result of an opioid overdose. So people are no longer like, it's not my son, it's not my kid, it's not my wife. Like, it's you're forced to recognize it for what it is. And the reality is that it's all preventable. There is a solution, you know? So really what we're trying to do is we're trying to do something more than just raise awareness, because we can talk all day about it and we have this lip service and that's great, but like there has to be some action behind it, you know? And I kind of believe that I was meant for this. I found my calling, and because I'm a public figure prior to sobriety, that this was my action. So now, like, I can travel a nation telling my story as a cautionary tale and do it through attraction rather than promotion. Because when I tell another alcoholic or addict what they need to do, they tell me, like, you have no clue what you're talking about. And I get that. So, like, I just live, like, a really good life, and I lead by example. Because, like, somehow I've tripped and fell into this role of, like, a public figure in sobriety, which even sounds weird to me, but like a lot of people look at me and what I do, and I'm very grateful for that, you know, because like I said, I was deemed unhelpable or unfixable. My mother prayed for my death. People had taken life insurance policies out on me. So like 99% of the people that call me, the conversation goes like this: Novak, if you can change, there's no reason why I can't. Can you help me? There's some substance to my story. It's tangible. You can see it on the internet, you can see it in books, you can see it in videos and movies. And that's a little bit different than a 50-year-old professor reading out of a textbook, giving a bunch of theories or hypotheses of what might happen if you decide to drink or drug. My story's the real deal, man.
So I get a phone call from my best friend, a fellow by the name of Bam Margera. He says, "We're going to Australia for a 1.5 month long tour of the Gold Coast. If you could just drink wine, you'll do great." Most people would say, "Wow, here's your golden ticket. You better take it." It's probably the last shot that you have. The abnormal had became the normal. I'm living with an animalistic level. I am immediately furious. I am immediately furious at this opportunity that is being presented to me, because I had been to Australia before, and it's like a 22-hour flight with a time zone change, and I bought enough heroin that should have lasted me a month. But by the time my flight touched down, I was out of heroin and I could not find any more heroin in Australia. So I did not want to go back to Australia, but against my better judgment, I knew if I stayed in my mother's house, it was going to end really bad, so I decided to go. So I jump on a train and I go from Baltimore Penn Station to 30th Street. I stop into Kensington. I buy $1,000 worth of heroin, and I get to Bam's house. And he takes me upstairs, and he says, I want to show you this footage that I'm editing. And when I get up to the editing room, I go to pull my cigarettes out of my pocket, and all my heroin falls out of my pocket. And he says, you're not going on tour, and you're not staying in my house. Get out.
You know, my therapist said to me not too long ago, she said, Novak, I want you to make a list of where the things you want to accomplish or the places you want to be within a year. And I said, no, I won't do that. She said, why? I said, because if I would have made a list of where I wanted to be at coming up on 3 years sober, I would have undersold myself dramatically. I would have really put a cap on my happiness or the limits that I could have achieved. Because I know from my story, my history dictates that as long as I don't drink or drug, anything is possible. Anything, you know? From who I was when I walked in May 25th, 2015, to who I am right now is completely like night and day. And that's not like an exaggeration, like literally night and day.
Where there's a father that works from home, and his son keeps banging on the knee, Dad, take me out to play, take me out to play, take me out to play. The father's trying to think of a way to buy 1 day, 2 days, and he looks on his office and his desk, and there's a big picture of the puzzle of the world map, and the father thinks to himself, I got it. He completely dismantles the picture of the puzzle of the world map, and he throws it on the floor. And he leaves the office surely thinking he bought 1 day or 2 days. He said, son, when you put the picture of the puzzle of the world map together, I'll take you out to play. Father leaves the office surely thinking he bought 1 or 2 days. 20 minutes later, the son comes back and he bangs his dad on the knee. He says, Dad, I did it. The father's thinking to himself, impossible. He walks back into the office as sure as the day is long. The picture of the puzzle of the world map's put back together. The father said, son, how'd you do it? The son said, Dad, it was simple. On the back of the picture of the puzzle of the world map was a picture of a man. I put the man back together, the world fell back in place. Together we stand, divided I die. My name is Brandon. Thank you for listening.